coined this term about 4 seasons ago. Air raid offenses, those are other schools. Michigan ground raid offense. I think it was the 2021 season, and Michigan really, played into that shtick of having a ground raid offense. Michigan football is to run the ball, what Ohio State and USC and formerly Oklahoma and these other schools are to passing the ball. The 290 yards that this team put up on the ground with Justice Haynes and Jordan Marshall and Bryce Underwood and others. The most rushing yards that this program has had in a road game since a true road game, right? Not talking about a bowl game, not talking about college football playoff or Big Ten championship, since 2019, right? With Hassan Haskins in there, with Zach Charbonnet, Shea Patterson, and crew. They had 295 at Illinois, more than any road game in the 2021, 2022, 2023 Big Ten championship seasons. It is a stat that I saw it on there. I think I saw it on Twitter. I had to go confirm it, went through the games, and it's factual. And it's amazing. They've had more, higher rushing games at home, right? Even that 2019 season, they had like 330 yards against Notre Dame in general. But on the road, where Sherrone Moore has had a terrible record as a head coach so far, right? Lost to Oklahoma, lost to Washington last year, lost to who? Indiana, Illinois. I think 1 or 2 of those games were on the road. Got the win against Ohio State, of course. But ground raid is back. We're going to talk about Justice Haynes, Jordan Marshall, and a little campaign that we are throwing together for the rest of this 2025 season. I'm going to ask you guys this question before we jump into it. Should a Justice Haynes Heisman campaign be underway 1/3 of the way through the regular season? Just give me a yes or a no. If we get more no's, or more yeses than no's, I should say, we're just going to keep this bad boy rolling. We're going to make sure we pump up those numbers, get the campaign. Remember we used to do, Jack, a few years ago, 2022 season, I think it was like the last 2 Heisman running backs and Blake Corum through like 7 games and 8 games. Those blew up on social media. So if Haynes continues to put things on a couple weeks against Wisconsin, then goes on the road, gets the win against USC, we are going to keep this Heisman train rolling. But if you guys think it's too early, just let me know. Give me a no in the comments. I'm giving yes. I think it's Heisman Haynes going right now after 4 games. Let's continue talking about this Michigan football team and the ground raid offense that really kind of disappeared last year, right? The Don didn't really have it shaken as much as he had in the past. Clem Mullings was hit or miss, had 2 of the more courageous breakaway runs maybe in school history against Ohio State to kind of put Michigan in field position to kick a field goal to win that game, against USC earlier in the year when he broke off all tacklers, the most unbelievable run maybe in the history of this program to get Michigan down to score a touchdown on 4th down. Here's your 2 running backs, and I think with the reason Jordan Marshall hasn't had the best year so far, but isn't it a bad year, right? He's had kind of 2 games where he's almost done nothing, 2 games where he's done something. And so at 189 yards, 3 touchdowns, a 54-yard touchdown run against Nebraska. Add that to Justice Haynes, who's got a couple 75-yard touchdown rounds, another 50-yard touchdown round, a 70-yarder that was even called back, leading the Power 4 in rushing. Justice Haynes right now is 115 rushing yards through 4 games, and we understand that every game, every 4 games are different. So I'm not saying he's like, 25% better than Derrick Henry or anything like that. But you just got to compare the games that are on the schedule. 4 games so far for Justice Haynes in the 2025 season versus the last Heisman Trophy winner at running back, which is 10 years ago, 2015, Derrick Henry at Alabama. Haynes has got more rushing yards, right? He's got, so what did I say, Jack? I said, well, Haynes has 537. So Henry had 422 after his 4 games. But where Henry really took off, he had a couple 200 and 250-yard games later in that SEC season, a lot of touchdowns, right? Haynes is doing good, 1.5 touchdowns a game, had another one called back. But what Michigan could have done the last, 2022, 2023 with Blake Corum is what I hope they do. What they did was what I hope they do with Haynes going forward is just get the touchdowns in there. Make those touchdown numbers look so absurd. Blake Corum had 27 touchdowns a couple of years ago, right? And if Justice Haynes compared 13 or 14 or 15 or 1,600 yards rushing with 21 touchdowns, right? 29 touchdowns, 23 touchdowns, 19 touchdowns, whatever that number is, it can't be 11 or 12, though. It's got to be like 18, 19, 20, 23, 23, 24. And then you're going to put himself in the Heisman conversation. And if Michigan wins out, or if they go 10-2, they beat Ohio State again, and maybe go to the Big Ten championship game, win that, Justice Haynes has a really good chance of being your Heisman Trophy winner, all right? 6 touchdowns to Henry's 8 through 4 games. He's a little bit behind pace there, but leading Power 4 in rushing. We are rolling out a new slogan. Da, 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 da. Just wait till we get our Haynes on you. She loves her Haynes. We love Haynes. Gentlemen's love Haynes. We added a Y to the logo, the popular Haynes clothing logo. And I might just put a little letters under there, Jack. I might put for Heisman as things go about. What if we took a white t-shirt and you know this little thing right here, back here, Jack, like the tag where it is, the tagless shirts? What if instead of the Haynes logos, we got plain t-shirts and we just put big Haynes for Heisman's logos in the back? I think people might buy them. Or you could toss it up on the sleeve or the chest pocket as well. So this is the new slogan. If the Heisman campaign goes on, we might like toss a little Heisman trophy silhouette back there and then Haynes for Heisman. It works, right? You guys remember the program? Remember the program back in the early 90s? The guy's name was Joe Kane. Their Heisman slogan, Jack, Kane is able. You know, Kane and Abel. Kane is able. We got Haynes. Just wait till we get our Haynes on you. I like it. It's got a little jingle. It's got a little flair, a little action. I think it's going to catch on across the world. I'm wearing Haynes. I got Haynes on. I got my Haynes. Let's ask you guys this, though. Subscribe to the channel as we are approaching our 36,000 milestone. I want to get there, right? We put out shows during the season. We want to get to these next milestones. We want to walk into these production meetings proud of ourselves. We don't want to walk into the college football meetings with our Alabama channel or Ohio State host, a scumbag named Billy Beebe, or our new Tennessee channel, and have them bragging for more subscribers. So let's get to 36,000 subscribers. Let's do it, damn it, this week, at least before the U.S. or the Wisconsin game. In another week next Saturday. We need 401 subscribers to get to 36,000 subs. And I'll tell you what, you're not just going to get any old channel. We are the most watched program on any platform, radio, TV, podcast, YouTube. 3 of the last 4 seasons. Let's make it this year. Subscribe to the Michigan Football Report. Let's take some questions. Put out a mailbag call a couple days ago, and I think we're going to have to do multiple of these because we got a lot of good questions. My guy, Will Lyric, he just unloaded on me, right? So I'm going to go through all of his really quick. So keep this up on screen. What are people's takeaways? What are their observations of this team after 4 games? Let me just go through them really quick. I'll do rapid fire here. Have to be better options than Evan Link. I agree. Defensive line finally got pressure. I think they've been getting pretty good pressure, right? 3.5 of the 4 games. Barham is an ED. I think he means like an edge, right? I agree with that. Cole Sullivan should be out there every defensive down. Agree. Zavada is back. Zavada is so back. It's not even funny. Back to not letting Bryce run. I mean, Bryce had a good run. I mean, he took off. Maybe he didn't, scramble as much when Michigan felt they had the game in hand. But that is that. Bryce with wide receivers will be fun in 2026. And this is just not even an observation. This is more of a projection. Michigan has got to dominate the transfer portal. You better be getting 2 of the top 5, 6, 7 wide receivers in the transfer portal this offseason. You got Bryce Underwood. Got to be optimizing to try your best to win a national championship or 2 national championships in 26, 27, hell, maybe even 2025. Pulling guards on pass protection. I don't have really much to say about that at this point. Get this team, I like this one. Get this team a jugs machine, right? All right, Samaj Morgan. Catch the damn ball. Catch the ball. You're second in the nation, Samaj. And the other guy, right? You're second in the nation. Channing Goodwin. With drops, 4 drops. It can't happen right now. Great to see Rod Moore back, I think, emotionally as much as his physical presence out there in the field. Haynes has a chance to be the best running back in Michigan history. If he did this the rest of the year, got 1,600 yards, and then came back and did it again next year, he's up there. He's 2 seasons as starter with Blake Corum, who I now, with the national title and the running back touchdown record, I put Corum as number 1. He has a chance, but as of now, that'd be a tough one to get. I think he's actually getting a lot of NFL draft looks right now. He might be one and done at Michigan. 3rd week in a row with injuries to starters in practice. I don't know. It's got to change. Michigan's got the injury bug, unlike any Michigan team I can remember in the last 15 years at least. 8-0 when a coach is suspended. That's got to be a record. Now, Jack, if you were a statistical guy, if you were a big math wizard, if you were running AI on Michigan football, you might say, how does Michigan go undefeated? Suspend your coach. You'll never lose a game. And I think there's something to consider right there. He keeps going on. Which one are we at? 14. Great experience for Bryce to play. Right, look, Joel Klatt said it on his podcast a couple days ago. I saw he talked Michigan, saw he had Bryce Underwood on his thumbnail on YouTube. He said, Bryce has got only 1 speed passing the ball right now. It's 100 miles per hour, right? He's throwing it like a baseball. But he's got to fix that to be a great passer of the ball. Right now, Bryce Underwood, according to Joel Klatt, is a thrower of the football. And I would say that's pretty accurate. You haven't really I would say that one Samaj Morgan pass, you haven't seen him just like absolutely throw a beautiful, just J.J. McCarthy, spiral pass. It's always downfield, usually incomplete if it's over 20 yards, or it's a bullet from 6 to 15 yards, just right in the guy's numbers, and most times they drop it, right, Jack? But what Klatt said was, Bryce Underwood, unlike maybe any 18-year-old he's ever seen at the quarterback position, is not phased at all by going into a ruckus night environment at Oklahoma, by going on the road to a venue. I actually want to go to a Nebraska game. I think Nebraska would be a really cool game to see. And next time Michigan plays there, I'm going to go to that game. But, said he is not intimidated by the road environment. That's going to help him throughout his career. You've got that. All you got to do is refine these other things, and you've got yourself a Heisman level, a number 1 draft pick, a national championship, potentially winning quarterback. Nebraska lost 28 straight against ranked opponents. That's insane. How does that happen? How does that happen in Nebraska? And I'll give. I was consuming some other pie. I don't typically really jump into the other media. I don't know why anymore, but I did see that Clay Travis, he tweeted out his podcast a couple days ago, was going to talk Michigan. So if they talk Michigan, I'll usually click in and hear if they say from a national perspective. And one of the things he said talking about this game, he talked about Michigan, gave him credit, he picked Nebraska to win. I thought he had a pretty good point, Jack, which is interesting. When Nebraska was in their heyday, right, from the 60s, late 60s to the early 2000s. They won the national title game. They went to the title game in 2001, lost to Miami. So let's just say 1965 to 2001, right? So we're talking about 35 years where they were like an elite top 3 program, almost no down seasons at all. What were they doing? They were pulling in 15 recruits a year from Texas, 6 recruits a year from Oklahoma, and getting recruits out of southern schools, probably a few guys from Arkansas, probably a few guys from other schools. And what they're not, and you got to think about it, right? They were playing those schools. They were in the Big 8. Then they were in the Big 12. They were playing Texas and Oklahoma and even Colorado. It's not even a hotbed of college football. And they were playing Arkansas, schools like this more often. I know Arkansas is in the SEC, but you were pulling in, so you could say to a college kid, it's like, hey, come to Nebraska. We're the winningest or one of the winningest programs right now in college football, and we play in your home state 2 or 3 times a year against Baylor, against Texas A&M, against TCU, or whoever it was. And then your parents can come. They can come play and watch you. You can go and be the guy who leaves the state, goes and wins a national title, etc. But now they can't do that, right? They can't say, come from Texas, 8 hours north, 10 hours north to North Nebraska, play here. You're going to play in Austin. You're going to play in Lubbock. You're going to play in College Station. You are going to play in Waco, Texas against Baylor. You can't say that anymore. They almost never play in Texas, almost ever, right? I bet in the last 12 years, they've been in the Big 10, 13 years, 14 years. I bet they played in Texas maybe 1 or 2 times. I don't even know. Maybe outside of a bowl game, 0. And so what they're forced to do is recruit from states like Iowa, where they do play, or Minnesota, or Wisconsin, or even Michigan, where they don't get any players, or Ohio, or Pennsylvania. It's not the same. Those, areas they haven't grown up with Nebraska football being a brand, with Nebraska football being someone they, desire to see. That's what Michigan is. That's what Ohio State is. That's what Penn State is. And as such, Nebraska's kind of lost their identity over the last 15 years. They've lost their identity. They've lost the players they can get, and that talent pool has just completely shrunk to a geographical area that, frankly, does not put out enough players to win games at the highest level. One more point Clay had, which I thought was spot on, is if you were to poll Nebraska fans, Nebraska administrators, coaches, former players, there's probably at least 5 schools, he said. I think it was A&M, Oklahoma, Texas. I think the other one were Arkansas and somebody else, he said. Missouri, right? They used to be in the Big 12 as well. Those schools that Nebraska, if they had to power rank their rivals historically, or who they'd want to be their rival, if they had to pick one team they'd play every year, you'd have to get down to 5 SEC schools before you got to a single Big 10 school. And that doesn't really sit right. And maybe they deserve to be more in the SEC, or hell, go back to the Big 12 and be the dominant program in that conference. But I don't think they're ever going to do that because of the $100+ million a year that they are getting from the Big 10, the Big 10 media partners, and the Big 10 network. I spent a little time on there, so appreciate you handing with me on that rant. Jack, that could be a nice little YouTube short right there. Why Nebraska doesn't fit in the Big 10, according to Clay Travis, according to James Yoder. Good to see a lot of meaningful contributions from the true freshmen, especially on defense. Look, you've got 3 players in the secondary that are true freshmen making an impact, and one who is starting in Jayden Sanders. And that experience, It's absolutely unbelievable, and it's going to pay off so much for the school this year, this team down the stretch of this season, and into next year. Let's keep it rolling. He's got a lot, right? He's got up to 23, right? So where we at? 18. Secondary still needs to improve, especially cornerback. You're missing Rod Moore, most of the season, 3.5 games he's been out. I know he's a safety. You've been missing Zeke Berry the last 3 games, 2.5 games. So I don't think with playing a bunch of true freshmen, you can expect it to be perfect from right away. So I'm willing to give him a little bit of a pass there for a while. We'll see in a few weeks about what happens in that vaunted USC passing attack. Beating Matt Rule made the win sweeter. I agree. Too many stupid mistakes, poorly coached team. The Hail Mary, the penalty on Brandon Hillman, a few other ones. Evan Link not blocking the right guy. Babalola injury will plague us all offseason. I hope he's back by next year, right? I hope he's back. What's that? Oh, Miss 21. Biff Poggi should do all presses. I agree. Biff has just got he's already given Bryce Underwood a great nickname, Batman. Batman Bryce. Bryce Batman. Portnoy selling t-shirts. This is a Maze t-shirt with a blue Batman logo. No copyright infringement there at all. And then need a new kick returner. I don't know what's going on with special teams, right? Jay Harbaugh, you got to give him a little credit. He is the rock and the foundation that Michigan special teams thrived on, were built on, and excelled on for a 4, 5, 6 season period. And the second he walked out the door, all of that walked out the door with him. So Michigan needs to do something better on special teams because it has frankly been, outside of Dominic Savada's just epic, elite play. Everything else has kind of been rudimentary for this special teams units. All right. One thing to say, though, I want to make sure you guys don't forget what the mission of this program is, what the mission of this program, YouTube program, and this football program should be. And it's always beat Ohio State again. So if you're with me, if you've been with me for the past 5 seasons, and we're going to make it 5 straight, comment BOSA 5 different times. BOSA, enter, BOSA, enter, BOSA. 5 straight, 5 victories, beat Ohio State again. Carl Cordell has a observation, a question for us here on the Michigan Football Report. Defensive backs playing too soft in coverage. They get picked apart. Receivers need coached up some hours. Let's talk about the defensive back part, right? We've talked a lot about the wide receivers in past games. Let's take this one. Zeke Berry, Rod Moore, they have not been with this team the entire season. Both of them have missed, 3 games? Those are 2 bona fide starters for your team at the cornerback position, Rod Moore at the safety or at the nickel positions. You cannot expect to throw out 3 true freshmen and a few other guys that have barely played in the past and expect to be perfect against a team like Oklahoma or a team like Nebraska, both of which who have Heisman frontrunner quarterback up until today. It's really sad to see he's got hurt, might miss 3 or 4 weeks, John Mateer at Oklahoma, or a player that, frankly, most are saying is going to be a top 10 pick in the 2027 NFL draft, one more year in college in Dylan Raiola. I think Michigan fans need to just take a little bit of a step back. We saw how much better this team got on defense throughout the 2024 season with Wink Martindale. I think we'll see a lot of that again this year. Michigan's playing USC in 2 weeks, right? You got Wisconsin next Saturday, the 4th. After that, the 11th. I'm not sure what's going to happen with Wisconsin. Michigan should win that handily. This is the game. This is the catalyst to the rest of the season. Those secondary players. Hopefully Zeke Berry's back by then. Hopefully Rod Moore has another couple weeks under his belt. He can make an impact. Those true freshmen get another game under their belt against Wisconsin, who still throws the ball a lot, even though they stink as a program. If this team can step up and do what they did to USC last year, bend but don't break. Give up 300 yards if you have to, just like you did against Dylan Raiola. Bend but don't break. Lock down inside the 20-yard line. This Michigan team wins the game. They're going to improve to 5-1 at that point, and you've got a path, maybe only with Washington being a true threat, to going to that Ohio State game 10-1 and beating Ohio State again to potentially play in the Big Ten championship game. Got a few more things to talk about, but did want to remind you guys, Jack, they told us we set almost a record yesterday. Almost a record. A couple short, but this one was a hit. Jack found it. Congratulations, Jack. They said, you guys sold so many of these. It was like top 3 items we've ever sold on the show from telling you guys what the deals are. So they lowered the price again. It was like, $24 or $23? They said, let's just do a cool 20, 47 brand, high quality stuff. Michigan long sleeve. It's starting to get a little cooler out there. It's going to get colder in October, November. Get it for Christmas. Long sleeve national championship shirt. It's awesome. It's only $20 and free shipping. Chatsports.com/champs sale. I'll put that link, second paragraph in the description, and all throughout the comments. We'll put it in there a couple of times as well. Few more questions to go to. We got Cool Mo T saying Michigan aren't playing well, or aren't playing like a well-coached team. The talent is there for a championship run this year. However, we've had too many head coach scratching moments this year. Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest one was just the entire Oklahoma strategy from an offensive perspective. I think the other two we saw against Nebraska, but they were able to overcome them. And I liked what Biff said at the mic after the game. It's a 17-17 ball game at halftime. I told, hey, guys, we're beating the snot out of this team, and Michigan, for the most part, did. If it wasn't for a lucky play and a penalty, it was easily a 14-point win for Michigan. Ended up being 3 in the scoreboard, but we all saw the domination that Michigan put forth against that Nebraska team. All right, I put this out there a couple days ago, and I was shocked, frankly, Jack. I was shocked. The people out there have been saying there's this quarterback with 3 names. It's a tough one to pronounce. I'm not going to pronounce it. True freshman guy, right? Lighting up the scoreboard for the first couple weeks for Cal. He's better than Bryce Underwood. He should be the number 1 player in the country. And then no one follows Cal football. I look at the scores on Sunday, and I thought they had a freshman QB better than Bryce Underwood I put out there. Michigan's 6th-string quarterback last year, Jack. 6th-stringer Jayden Denegal went in there, San Diego State, and beat Cal not 10-9, 34-0, right? 34-0, which kind of irks me a little bit because how could this guy be able to play at least competent football, beat a team like Cal that had been running it up for the prior few weeks, and not even get a damn snap last year at Michigan? It really boggles my mind. Did Sherrone Moore's sister and him have a thing? What was the problem? Because these are pretty good numbers. This would have been biblical last year. Denegal plays like this last year. Michigan wins the national championship, I think, last year, right? 13-25 in his debut, we're 207. Then I think it's not at Oklahoma. That is, I think I must have messed that one up, Jack. My bad, building that graphic. Nevertheless, his second game was, I think it was Washington State. So we'll fix that for the future. But 15 of 30. 133 yards. They lost that game to Oklahoma State, I think it was, or Washington State, I should say. And then the third game against Cal, 15 of 18, 83%, 189 yards passing, 1 touchdown, no interception. So 3 games for Michigan's 6th-string quarterback, Jayden Denegal, goes to a Group of 5 conference, right? San Diego State, the home of Brady Hoke, and he is now 43 of 73, 59% of his completions, right? Michigan couldn't get 50% if they tried most games last year. 529 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, not a single interception for Jayden Denegal. Again, I just want to say again, Michigan's 6th-string quarterback in 2024, a year where they had a worse passing attack than any team outside of the service academies in college football. There you go, Jack. Best in the biz right there. Fixed that graphic, whips out his laptop, pulls out Photoshop, designs an entirely new graph from scratch, has it up on screen in under 2 minutes. At Washington State, and then Cal, 15 of 18, 83%, almost 200 yards, a touchdown, no picks. Had another rushing touchdown this season as well. Jayden Denegal, where were you last year, my good friend? We could have been Jack. Tell the people, jump on the mic. In my office, I have 2 framed jerseys. Tell the people who they are.
Blake Corum, J.J. McCarthy.
Blake Corum, J.J. McCarthy. I could have had to put up another one up there. Back-to-back, Jayden Denegal. Jayden Denegal, you could have got a framed jersey in my office for being another national championship quarterback for Michigan, but I'm not sure what was going on in 2024 with you. San Diego State, look, 2-1, lost a game, but they beat Cal 34-0. Pretty good for him. I mean, he's going to be around for a few years. I like to see what we're going to get out of Jayden Denegal in the future. A couple more observations from our YouTube channel. Michigan must get personnel that can catch. There's nothing like quarterback can do when you hit the ball in the hands of receivers. It is so imperative, right? And I do question, I've said this in the past, I'm really questioning Sherrone Moore and whoever else is helping to make these decisions, understanding the own personnel that he has, because you went into 2024 with that quarterback room that shouldn't have happened, right? It should not have happened. And Sherrone should have known. He was their offensive coordinator the year prior. And then you go into this year for the second straight year with wide receivers who are just not. How do you look at Ohio State? How do you look at LSU? How do you look at these other schools, USC, and say, our guys are almost as good as they are? We can make those plays. It's kind of embarrassing. DB, a lot of letters there. Bellamy, got to go. 108 yards passing is ridiculous. We need legitimate receivers. I must say this again. I must emphasize it. I listened to some Texas guys a few years ago. Ohio State guys a few years ago, 4 years ago, when they got Quinn Ewers on campus. And I thought it was a very apt point. Didn't work out because he only was on campus for 4 months before he transferred. one of the podcasts says, look, what this program is doing, it needs to be doing, it should be doing, is you're not going to win it as a true freshman, but you should get 2 years of starting out of this player, right? Maybe it's true freshman not. Obviously, he wouldn't because C.J. Stroud started in 21 and 22, so maybe he would have been starter 23 and 24 at Ohio State had he stuck around. You've got to optimize. When you get a generational quarterback, right? A guy who is number one in every service, a guy who they say he's the best since, right? That is what Bryce Underwood is now. He's the best right now, in my opinion, since Trevor Lawrence coming out in the 2018 class, who did win a national title his freshman year. They said about Quinn Ewers at the time, Ohio State has to be optimizing. Everything this program needs to do is to try your damnedest to win 2 national titles because you might not get a quarterback of this level for another generation, another 25 years or so. Michigan is in that boat to even a greater expect because they have not had the quarterback success like Ohio State has had for the last 20 years, right? Michigan got win games this year, of course. But you've got to have a plan. The second that final game was over, the second that transfer portal window was open, you better be backing up the Brinks truck, beep, 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 and making sure that you are getting absolutely every talented wide receiver and offensive lineman and filling any other holes in the transfer portal that your incoming freshman class or your current players returning for 2026 aren't filling, making sure you've got top-level players. Sherrone Moore knows what a national championship looks like. You know what a national championship looks like. I know what one looks like because Michigan is less than 2 years removed from winning that one. If you're not walking into the 2026 season with a team that can win the national championship, you're wasting money with Bryce Underwood being your quarterback. If you enjoyed today's show, subscribe at youtube.com/Michigan TV. 401 you need to subscribe so I can walk into our production meeting at the end of next week, leading into the Wisconsin game with my head held high going into another Michigan football win. Go Blue.